HRM. Yesterday, we had discussed about HR policies and what are the various HR practices that are being followed by most of the multinational large-scale companies, which motivates the employees for better output. That we had discussed. So today we will be starting with nature of HRM. Now, most of the points under nature of HRM we have already discussed in the previous lectures. So we will have a very quick look on these points. Nature of HRM. Human resource management involves management functions like planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. So that we have already discussed that the functions of HRM includes planning, then organizing, then directing, and then monitoring or controlling. It involves, second point is it involves procurement, development, maintenance of human resource. So we have already discussed that the meaning of procurement is hiring, recruitment and selection is the meaning of procurement. Then development means once a person is taken in the organization, that means once a person is employed in the organization, that employee is to be trained. So that is under development. Maintenance means retaining the person. Once a person has been employed, the person has been trained, then the organization should see to it that the person is retained. The person is sticking to the organization for a period of longer time. And then maintenance of the human resource. Now, the third point is it helps to achieve individual and organizational and social objectives. In the definition of human resource itself, we have discussed that how these three objectives can be achieved. Next one, it includes the study of management psychology, communication, economics, and sociology. So human resource management consists of the combination, or it is a combination of psychology, communication, economics, and sociology. Psychology means as we are dealing with human beings, it is very important that the HR manager should have knowledge of human psychology, because human beings are having certain, say, they are having certain their behavior may be different, their beliefs may be different, their feelings may be different, their emotions may be different. So about feelings, about emotions, about human psychology, about their behavior, how they will react in different situation. So all these things the manager, the HR manager will come to know if he or she is having knowledge of human psychology. Then communication plays a very important role. The HR person should have good communication, not only in written, he or she should have a good knowledge over written communication, but should have a knowledge over oral communication also. Next one, economics. Economics means he or she should be aware of the financial position of the company, whether the company is into profit or is into loss, and he or she should be able to convey it to the employees. If the company is not doing well, then all these things should be shared with the employees of the organization. Last one is sociology. As the meaning of organization is when group of people come together to achieve a common goal, it is called as organization. Group of people coming together. It is not single person who is working in the organization, but it is group of people who are working in the organization. When number of people who are working in an organization, then the manager should have knowledge of sociology also, that how these people who are working in a group, how they will work in a group in a smooth manner, in a cordial manner, or in the right direction they will be working without any fight, without any quarrel, or without any differences of opinion. Last one, it involves team spirit and teamwork. So this is very important, team spirit and teamwork. We have been discussing a very common statement, a happy worker is always a productive worker. Same is the case here also, that if the spirits are high, if teamwork is there, then it is easier for the company or easier for the employee to achieve the target set by the company. So this was related to nature of HRM. Now next, now an example, HR objectives of Tata Group. Now, as we have discussed yesterday, that each and every company is having their HR practices, HR policies on paper. Every company is having, whether it's a small company, whether it's a mid-scale company, large company, or multinational company. But when it comes to the real implementation of these policies or practices, then it may be different in different companies. Some of the companies, they practice or they implement the policies as it is, whereas some of the companies changes policies according to their convenience. So now we will be talking about what are the HR objectives of Tata Group. Tata Group, we all know that it is one of the most famous company of the world, one of the largest company of the world. So what they have written in their HR objectives, Tata company shall provide equal opportunity to all its employees. So they have started their statement with that Tata company shall provide equal opportunity to all of its employees. So equal opportunity should be provided. There will be no discrimination among the employees. Every employee will be given equal chance for growth in the organization. Then the second policy or the second objective says HR policy shall promote diversity and equality in workplace. Diversity means that people from different caste, different religion, different creed, all people are welcome in Tata Group. It is not limited to a particular caste, a particular religion, or people of a particular locality, or people of a particular race, but all people from different religion, different race, different caste are welcome in the group. And equality in workplace. Everyone will be treated as equal in the workplace. That is written there. Next one, employee shall be treated with dignity. Now, this is very important. Employee should be treated with dignity. Dignity means with respect. So all the employees, whether he or she is working at the lowest level, at the middle level, or at the upper level, they should be treated with dignity. They should be treated with respect. Next one, maintain a work environment free from all forms of harassment. So no harassment should be there. It should be a workplace which is free from harassment. No one is taking advantage of his or her position and trying to harass the person who is working under him or her. So no harassment should be there. Next one, respect for the right of privacy and the right to be heard. So everyone is having a right to privacy So no one should disturb that right of privacy, and every employee is having right to be heard. Now, right to be heard means that in case a person is having that problem is to be heard by the senior officials of the company. If a worker is not happy with a particular supervisor, he or she feels supervisor is harassing, then that the higher authority has to complain. So that is called as a right to be heard. Next one, equal. All the eligible candidates should be given equal opportunity to work in the organization. Last, and are based on merit. So all the decisions which are to be taken by the company, these decisions are related to HR, human resources, are supposed to be based on merit. They will not be based on closeness to the higher authority of the company. So if a board member in Tata Group of Company wants to say wants his son to join the company, that son will be hired only on the basis of merit. This is what is written in the HR objectives of Tata Group of Companies. Now, when we talk about maintain, when we were talking about the fourth point, maintain a work environment free from all forms of harassment. Please remember, on the website of Tata Group of Companies, it is mentioned very clearly that no harassment can be done in any company under Tata Group. There are systems, there are procedures which are available on the website of Tata Group itself, where any person who feels that he or she has been harassed in the company, they can directly contact the higher officials of the company. So all the details of the higher authorities which are available to solve these type of complaints are available on the website of the companies. So this was an example of how the companies are writing their HR objectives, HR policies, or HR practices. Only thing is, whatever has been written is to be implemented on ground as it is. Then only these practices, policies, or objectives will be beneficial for the organization. Otherwise, if they are not implemented properly, and if they are changed according to the wish of the higher authorities of the company, then in the long run, the company will not be profitable and it will be a loss for the company. Next one, functions of human resource management. Now, these functions, most of the functions we have already discussed when we had discussed the definition of human resource management. The first definition, which was very exhaustive and which was all inclusive, has included these functions. So we will have a very quick look. In case you are not understanding anything, you are having any doubt related to any of the functions, please raise your doubt. Now, functions of human resource management, there are two types of functions. One is called as managerial function. The other one is called as operative functions. Under managerial functions, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling is involved. So everything we have already discussed. And under operative functions, procurement is nothing but hiring, recruitment, and selection. Development is training and development. Then compensation is paying remuneration for the work performed by the employee in the organization. So in simple words, compensation is salary. Maintenance and motivation. Maintenance is nothing but retaining the employee, not only retaining the employee, but continuous motivation to the employee so that the employee is pushed for better work. Next one, integration. So everything is to be integrated. If everything is, say, goes hand in hand, then only we can expect that the organization will be achieving its target, which is set at the beginning of the year. Last one, industrial relations, that also we have discussed. So functions, these were the functions of human resource management. Please remember, in case you have not understood anything, please stop me and ask your question. Now, in detail, we will be talking about the operative functions of human resource management. Under procurement, what comes under procurement? It is job analysis and job design, that also we have discussed. Then human resource planning, recruitment, selection, placement, orientation, and socialization. So these are the sub points under procurement. Next one, under development, it is career planning and development, worker training, executive development, and organizational development. Under compensation, it is job evaluation, then performance evaluation, wages and salary administration, and incentives and benefits. So these things we have already discussed. Under maintenance and motivation, employee well-being, social security, workers' participation. Now, workers' participation means what? Nowadays, there is a concept called as WPM. WPM means workers' participation in management. Now, under this is a particular scheme or particular, say, technique which is being implemented in many organizations. And the organizations have seen many benefits of implementing of this scheme called as WPM. Now, workers' participation in management means that when a worker is working on a particular machine or on a particular process for, say, 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, or for more period than that, it means that that particular worker knows about that machine or that work process in and out. That worker may have more knowledge about machine or about the work process than the manager who has recently joined the organization. Although the manager is his boss, but as manager is having experience of, say, 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, as compared to the worker who is having experience of more than 20 years. Under workers' participation in management, often suggestions are asked from the workers or other employees organization. So here, every worker, every employee of the organization of that particular concerned department is allowed to give his or her on that particular matter. senior officials of the organization, they check the suggestions given by the employees and they select the best possible suggestion, the best suggestion, and they inform the employees that this suggestion given by Mr. So and so or Miss So and so has been selected by them. They share the reason for selection also, and that is called as the scheme of workers' participation in management. Earlier, the belief was totally different. Managers used to think that they are more qualified, they are more educated, they are sitting on a higher position, so they know everything. But nowadays, things have been changed. Now it is believed that each and every member of the organization can contribute to the benefit of the organization, maybe the lowest person in the organization. So the lower level person or the lowest level person is also given a say in the organization nowadays, that if or she feels that no, if certain changes are made in this particular working process, or if certain changes are made in the mechanism of the machine, then it will be beneficial for the organization. It will give more output to the company. It will reduce the wastages for the company. It will improve the quality of the product. Then that lowest level worker is also allowed to share his suggestion with the management, and that is called as workers participation in management. So that was a new concept, that is why we shared that concept. Then motivation, we all know. Now the next concept is called as under maintenance and motivation. Please remember, maintenance here means retention. It is not the real meaning of maintenance कि किसी चीज को मेंटेन करना है, वो नहीं है. मेंटेनेंस एचआर में मतलब रिटेंशन, रिटेन करना. Now job rotation. Now most of you might be aware of what is job rotation. It's a simple HR concept which is based on the fact that if a person is given same job every day for a longer period of time, automatically his efficiency and his productivity will come down. Why? Because if a person is doing continuously a same job, he or she will get bored from doing that job, as the job is monotonous in nature. To avoid this, the concept of job rotation is implemented in most of the organization. Job rotation means similar type of job is allotted to the employee after a period of, say, in some organization it's a period of 7 days, in some other organization it can be a period of 1 month, it can be a period of 15 days. It depends upon organization to organization. Now for example, in a manufacturing company, suppose a two-wheeler manufacturing company is there. Now employee A is supposed to fix wheels in the bike. टायर बिठाने का काम करता है एम्प्लॉई ए, उसको व्हील बिठाने, that is his job. For 1 week, if he does that job, he is very effective. For 15 days, he is doing his job very effective. 1 month doing his job very effective. But if for a longer period of time he is doing the same job, may not be that effective. Why? Because that job will become monotonous. To avoid that, job rotation is done. So employee A, for a period of say 7 days, he will be fixing the wheels. For another 7 days, he is shifted to another level or another table where he is supposed to put the brakes on the bike. Next 7 days, some other responsibility, related responsibility. It is not that completely different responsibility is given to the employee. Job rotations means that a person is shifted to related responsibility. Next one, HR records, research and audit. Now it is the responsibility of the HR department to maintain HR records, do research and do audit. Next one, HR information system. So HRIS is HR information system. Nowadays, uh, because of changes or because of betterment in technology, a new branch of HR has emerged, and that branch is called as HR Information System, Human Resource Information System. Now, this particular branch is totally based on IT, information technology, as it's a new branch. So, all the research, all the activities are to be conducted which are based on IT, which is based on IT. Now it is shifting to artificial intelligence also. Many organizations are implementing the in HR department also artificial intelligence. Most of the work, suppose sorting of applications of eligible candidates, then say verifying or checking the results of tests which is given by the candidates at the time of say conduction of tests, at the time of interviews, at the time of selection. So some of these functions are performed by artificial intelligence with the help of information technology. Next one is integration. Under that, industrial relations. That means that relationship between employees in the organization should be a good relationship, should exist. Cordial relationship should be there, so that they can enjoy working in the organization. If they are enjoying working in the organization, there are more chances that their efficiency will improve. Next one is discipline. Again, discipline, every organization should have discipline. If there is discipline, then only work can be done in a proper manner. If there is no discipline, there cannot be a proper work. There will be chaos in the organization. Now discipline means what? Discipline means following of rules and regulation. That is the simple meaning of discipline. That whatever rules and regulations are made by the organization, that are to be followed. Now suppose in a particular organization no discipline is there. There is no discipline. No one knows, no one is given any in time and out time. Everyone is free. Whenever you feel, you come. Whenever you feel, go. That you want to leave the organization, you can leave the organization. So there is no in time, there is no out time. What will happen? There will be total chaos in the organization. There will be loss for the organization, and organization will be shut down in very near future, because there is no discipline. So discipline plays a very important role. Discipline is nothing but the set of rules and regulations which is proposed by the company, which is supposed to be followed by all the employees of the organization. So that is called as discipline. So discipline plays a very important role. Next one, grievance redressal. Now grievance is nothing but complaint. Complaint in written form. When a complaint is made in written form, and that complaint is related to working condition of employee, that complaint, that written complaint related to working condition is called as grievance. Now, what is written as grievance redressal? So, grievance means written complaint related to working condition. Redressal means solving of complaint. So, whenever a written complaint related to working condition is there in the organization, that is to be solved at the earliest. Now, all the multinational companies and large scale companies, they are having provision for grievance redressal mechanism, because every company wants to have good relations among the employees in the organization. No company wants that there should be differences of opinion between the employees. There should be fight between the different groups of the employee. So that is why all the multinational companies and all the large scale companies, they have a mechanism which is called as grievance redressal mechanism. Now, under this, it is conveyed, or it is known to all the employees that in case of any grievance, who is the authority which can be approached and how it can be solved. Now, the reason behind establishing of grievance redressal mechanism is that all the employees who are working in the organization are human beings. Now, no matter how good the working environment is, how better the working facilities are, no company can guarantee that we are providing the best salary, we are providing the best working conditions, we are having the best HR practices. So there will be no difference of opinion in our company. There will not be any single fight in our company for a period of, say, 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years. As all the companies are dealing with human beings, and human beings are having different emotions, different feelings, different say beliefs. So there can be chances in best of the best companies also that there can be grievances. Now, grievances or complaints should not be prolonged. It should be settled at the earliest, so that it may not adversely affect the functioning of the organization. As and when the grievance comes into existence, this mechanism called as grievance redressal mechanism tries to solve that complaint at the earliest, so that that complaint should not grow and it should be settled at the lowest level itself. Next one, dispute settlement. Now, dispute means fight or difference of opinion between employees. So when employees fight with each other over, say, anything, or when they are having differences of opinion which can lead to the say unsettle the organization, or which can lead to strike in the organization. Now, such type of differences or such type of fights are included under dispute settlement. Now, in India, there is a law which is called as Industrial Disputes Act 1947. Under this act, it has been made compulsory for each and every company which is employing more than 100 people, that every company should have a dispute settlement machinery, which is also called as industrial dispute settlement machinery. Now, this particular machinery is set up just to solve the dispute at the earliest, so that the dispute may not reach to the courts in the organization, in the country. If it leads to the court, it may take time for solving that dispute. So that is why, same as the case with the what we have discussed is grievance redressal mechanism, same is the case with dispute settlement also. Only thing which differentiate between these two mechanisms is, now industrial dispute is compulsory. This machinery is compulsory because the law says that if you have these many employees, then you have to have this particular machinery exist in your organization. But grievance redressal system is often voluntarily set up by the organizations. Last one is collective bargaining. Now everyone is aware of what is bargaining. Bargaining means negotiation, and everyone does bargaining. When we go for shopping, suppose on Fashion Street, everyone is aware of, in Pune there is a fashion streets. There are fashion streets, not is, but there are fashion streets where you can get good type of clothes, good type of dresses, and there you can bargain also. Suppose if I liked a shirt, and if I ask for the price, the person who is selling that shirt, he tells me that it is for 1000 rupees. So I may start with, no, I have only 500 rupees. So if you are ready to give me at 500 rupees, I am ready to purchase it. So he may come up with a suggestion with another offer. No, no, 500 is too low. I can sell it for 900. I may increase my negotiation, my price also. No, I am ready to, my final price is 600. So this is called as negotiation. Collective means group. When negotiation is done by a group, then it is called as collective bargaining. Now, this particular concept of collective bargaining was very popular earlier. Nowadays, as the company itself is providing so much of benefits, so much of incentives to the employees, this particular concept is not that popular nowadays. Now, earlier, what the companies used to do is, they used to pay the employees salary as well as bonus, whatever has been fixed as per various laws existing in the country. Now, for payment of salary, there are two existing laws in the country. One is called as Payment of Wages Act, and the another is called as Minimum Wages Act. Now, every company is supposed to follow these acts. What they used to do earlier, that they used to stick to those laws only. That Minimum Wages Act. Minimum Wages Act means every company is supposed to pay its employees minimum this much of salary. So what the company used to do is that if say minimum salary is 10,000 rupees, so they used to pay 10,000 rupees or 10,500 rupees or 11,000 rupees. So what they used to do, they used to try, they always used to uh, take advantage of the laws or just following the laws, whatever the law says. They were not thinking about the benefit of the employees. Then there is a law related to payment of bonus act also, that once in a year every company is supposed to pay bonus to the employees. Now minimum bonus and maximum bonus is fixed. Minimum bonus is 8.33% of the annual salary of the person. Now what these companies used to do is they used to stick to that only. Okay, 8.33% bonus is to be shared. So we will be giving 8.33% or 8.5% or 8.75% or 8.9% or 10% or 9%. So they were not thinking of betterment of the people. So at that particular time, collective bargaining was very much popular. There, the employee realized that it is not possible for a single employee to negotiate betterment in salary with the organization, because he is not having that much of power, a single employee. But if all the employee come together and they start negotiating for the better salary with the company, there are more chances that the company will accept their demand. So in those days when trade unions were very much popular, and in those days, say 20-25 years back, this concept of collective bargaining was very much popular. Nowadays, all the companies have realized that it is only because of the contribution of human resource or the employees who are working in the organization that they are profitable, they are making profits. As they have realized this, they have started sharing this profit with the employees also, in terms of better salary, better incentive, better benefit, better packages. So the concept of collective bargaining is not very much popular nowadays, because employees are getting what they are eligible for, and sometimes, or in some organization, they are paying more than that, कि जितना चाहिए उससे भी ज्यादा कंपनी पे कर रही है एम्प्लॉइज को. व्हाई? बिकॉज दे नो दैट इट इज ओनली एम्प्लॉई which can make or break the organization, which can make the organization profitable, or which can make the organization suffer losses also. So this was related to collective bargaining. Now next one is related to qualities of an HR manager. What type of qualities a HR manager should possess? Very simple qualities, but very important qualities. Next one. First one is knowledge. He should have good knowledge. Knowledge, we had discussed that he should be having knowledge of what? Knowledge of economics, knowledge of sociology, knowledge of human psychology, knowledge of he should have a good general knowledge. He should be knowing what is happening in and around the country in the field of human resource management and in other fields also. So he should be a dynamic person who is always ready to learn. Next one, intelligence. He should be intelligent so that he can understand the problems which are being faced by the management and problems which are being faced by the employees. Communication skills, very simple. The person should be having good communication skills, verbal communication as well as written communication, and it should not be limited to the say paperwork only, but it should be seen that the person is having good communication skills. Now, when we talk about communication is different and English is different. Now, for example, a HR manager is there in an organization and he is very good in English. He is very fluent in English, both in verbal communication as well as in written communication. But in the organization, most of the employees are not fluent in English. They do not know English. Now, in that particular company, most of the employees, they are localites. They are not aware of English. Now, when it comes to communicate with the HR manager, these employees feel difficult to communicate as the HR manager is very good in English, but he is not that good in the local language. Whereas most of the employees are very good in their local language, but they are not too good in English. Now, if this situation exists in an organization, we cannot say that the HR manager possesses a good communication skills. Communication is different from English. Communication means that you should be able to say convince the person, or you should be made the person aware about your thoughts. If you are unable to make the other person say if the other person is not able to understand your thoughts, it is not communication. Communication is that one person is sharing his thoughts and another person is understanding those thoughts in that manner only. So that is called as communication. So communication skills means not only the HR manager should be good in English communication, but he should be good in local communication also. Next one, objectivity and fairness. He should be objective and fair. No partiality should be there. He should be treating each and every employee in the same manner. It should not happen that one person or one of the employee, whenever he comes across with the HR manager, he wishes the HR manager, good morning, sir, good afternoon, sir, good evening, sir. And because of that, the HR manager develops a soft corner for that particular employee. When it comes to discipline, that employee who always makes the HR manager happy by wishing him, he is not very good in terms of keeping discipline. He often comes late, but as the HR manager is having a soft corner for that particular employee, he doesn't take any strict action against that employee. So that is not objectivity and fairness. Objectivity and fairness means no one is close to the HR manager. Or even if a person who is close to the HR manager should be impartial in taking decision against that person also, if that person is indulging in any sort of indiscipline. Next one, leadership and motivational quality, very important. As HR manager has to lead from the front, he should possess leadership qualities. He should be such a person that when he is taking a particular decision, that decision is to be followed by the employees. Then only we can say that he is having leadership skills. He should be able to convince the employees. So that is leadership and motivational skills. Emotional maturity and empathy. Emotional maturity. He should be able to understand the difficulties of the employees, as well as he should be empathetic towards the employees. Empathy means that he should be, suppose if an employee is going through certain problems, now he should be in such a position that he should imagine, he should put himself in that particular position, that if such position happens or if such thing happens to him, what will be his reaction? So that is empathy, when you are putting yourself in the problem which is being faced by the another employee, and you are trying to understand the problem from every point of view. So emotional maturity, one of the quality of HR manager is emotional maturity and empathy. So these are the qualities of HR manager which he or she should be possessing. Now tomorrow we will stop here. Tomorrow we will start with human resource management process. So as only 5 minutes are remaining, we will not be able to complete this particular point. So we will stop here. So thank you for joining today's session. We will meet tomorrow at the same time, that is 6 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.